1-2 to Shohei Ohtani as Leon stretches and comes to the plate now. Swung on, hit high in the air to left and deep. This ball carrying. This ball is gone. It is Dodger debut. Shohei Ohtani brings them to their feet. A 2-run home run. That's what they've been waiting for. Show me the way.
I just talked about the power that he has. Watch him lift this ball. Very short stride, lift the ball. It just kept going.
Well, that is a strong man right there.
We have no doubt that there's a strong man right there. Thanks to Sportsnet Los Angeles and MLB. I'm Jim. He's a good old Amedeus who yesterday was on assignment. Amedeus, not a bad opening day for Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, welcome to LA, right? What more could you want from him?
Right.
I know it's only spring training, but obviously showing some great signs right off the bat.
Well, literally, there's that's probably the most people that's been in Glendale, Arizona, even with the hockey team. They all showed up to watch Shohei hit it out of the ballpark. And, the fun part was he hit it to that little part of left field where, there were fans kind of like, in a picnic area out there, and they got to pull it in. So Shohei Ohtani showing off the merch right off the bat. All the people in the ballpark wearing some sort of Dodger blue and a few red Angels jerseys there. Good news for the people in Orange County. They don't have to go too far to come up to Dodger Stadium to watch Shohei play. But not a bad opening day debut there in the Cactus League out in Glendale, Arizona, where they played against the White Sox. And Shohei Ohtani did what he did right. Showed up. That's what they're getting paid. He's getting paid for. I was telling Amadeus in the first part, in our pre-show talk, that if you watched at the end when he got to home plate, the first person to greet him was Freddie Freeman. So if I'm a pitcher, if I'm lucky enough to get Shohei out, I don't get any break because Freddie Freeman's going to wear out a lot of pitchers this year. Anybody's trying to pitch around Shohei it's not gonna help.
Yeah, definitely. That entire lineup, as you called it, murder's row there. And I mean, that's what you expect from a team like the Dodgers. They put out all this money year after year to have a great roster. And this is why I think more than ever, they really need to win the World Series this season.
Hey, I don't know why I didn't know this, but one of my favorite ball players and a guy who was, a really good Dodger is playing for your Blue Jays now. Mr. Turner, Justin Turner's up there.
Oh, he joined the teams. I didn't see that in the offseason. Like I said, haven't paid too much attention to the MLB offseason, just the big name stuff. But now spring training's here. Gonna have to do the deep dive soon into these leagues. That's good to know. Justin Turner up here for the Blue Jays. I'll have to see who else has left the team and whatnot.
His nickname, I love his nickname. It's from Peanuts, of course, and that's Pigpen, because every time he gets on the field, he's wearing some of the ball field on his jersey. You'll see where he dives into the clay from where he dives into second base. You'll see his grass stains on his knees where he's diving to get a baseball on the infield or in the outfield. So there's one thing about him, and it just seemed to be one of those guys that when he steps up to the plate and money's on the table, they got to have a hit. He's a guy who comes through with the hit. So Good for him, and hopefully good for the Jays to pick him up.
Yeah, definitely. Nice veteran presence there for sure.
Still no, still no Blake Snell. His problem seems to be he thinks that he's worth $200 million, and so far, nobody in Major League Baseball seems to agree with he and Scott Boras's theory of the case that he's worth that kind of cash. And I mean, he's turned down a couple of seriously good, 4 or 5 year deals at 150, 180. I mean, they throw some money at him, but Blake just doesn't seem to want to be in a rush to just sign that contract.
Yeah, I mean we've seen Scott Boras do some wonders with some of the contracts that he's drawn up for his players, but at some point, you might just got to tell him take what's on the table, because I don't think
getting better.
Yeah, there's not as big a market for you as you think there is.
Let me ask you this, and it's been a while, so it's unfair. If you don't know, don't worry about it. We got plenty of time to figure it out. Blake Snell is one of those pitchers, first 5, you might want to go with it. Anything beyond 5 innings, you are taking your life in your own hands with Blake Snell.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something we even talked about last season with Snell. He's that kind of guy where, you can get about 4 or 5, maybe 5 innings, right? Yeah. It's more so 2 times throughout the rotation.
Through the lineup.
That's really what it is. Once you get to that 3rd time through, then that's when you really start to see him unravel. And it's happened more often than not where, the 5th, 6th inning is really when you see him giving up a majority of his runs after pitching so well. So, I mean, why he left Tampa, I'll never know. They had like the perfect system, the way they use their openers there.
Yeah.
But obviously, he went to the Padres, had the stint there, and we'll see what the future holds for Blake Snell this season.
My dear friend Steve Kinsella, who covered those Rays that you talked about, and Blake Snell, told me that Blake Snell was the best 3-inning pitcher in baseball. Beyond that, you're taking your life in your own hands. And so, I wouldn't disagree with Steve on that. I mean, there are some guys who metrically, you didn't want to see a 2nd or 3rd time through the lineup. Now, Blake, in fairness to him, at San Diego, he did become a little better at getting through that 2nd time around, but definitely not a 3rd time.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a problem he's struggled with, and not to pick on Blake Snell, because there's tons of guys.
Well, there's a bunch of guys,
who are like that. Just obviously he's the hot commodity, if you want to even call it that right now in the offseason. So it's just facts are facts. He hasn't been as good 3rd time through the lineup, and sometimes that comes down to management too, right? You got to put yourself on the right team with maybe a manager and a deeper bullpen who knows. We get you out of there after 4, and then we'll have a middle of the pack kind of guy to come in for 2-3 innings, try to get us all the way home.
Well, and I think that the Yankees and the other clubs who've kicked the tires on Blake have decided, what, we have the ability to use him as, like you said, like an opener. Give him the 4 innings. If he gets to 5, that's great. And then we'll take it from there. But I don't see any, as much as I know Scott's good at getting people money, I just don't see him getting Blake north of that $200 million number that he seems to feel that he earns.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen him work some magic before, but he's gonna really need to put his wizard hat on for this one.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of the other thing is that he's not getting any younger, and usually when that goes. Now, I'm a little contrary on this one. I'm curious. A few years ago, you remember Andrew Miller, right? Andrew Miller made a living pitching 2 innings out of the bullpen. He'd come in the 8th and pitch the 8th and 9th, or he'd come in the 7th and pitch 7th and 8th. And he seemed to be, I mean, that was something that was, old school reliever, where you get a reliever who wouldn't just, give you 1, he could give you 2 innings. I'm looking at down the line, that might be where Blake Snell is a 2-inning reliever.
That'd be an interesting transition. It definitely could be possible, right? It all depends. Obviously, he views himself as one of the best starters in the league right now. So we'll see. But yeah, 100%. Maybe 5 years from now, you're even less. You could see him doing that for sure.
Well, I bring up a guy who I've had the luxury of knowing, and one of my favorite people, and especially one of my favorite baseball people, is John Smoltz. And John said that Leo Mazzoni came to him and said, John, and some people forget that John was a pretty substantial starting pitcher for the Braves for a long time. And he came to him and he said, John, I just think it's time that we start figuring out what you're going to do, since you're starting to lose it from a standpoint of as a starting pitcher. And he said, look, why don't we talk about relief pitching? John was automatically, what are you, crazy? I can still pitch. I can still start. And he goes, I understand you can still start. I think that you can throw 2 innings and just all out, right? All out for 2 innings and, be one of the best pitchers in baseball for 2 innings. And Smoltz begrudgingly took up Leo Mazzoni's, advice and, pitched himself into the Hall of Fame. So,
yeah, sometimes that's what needs to happen, right?
Yeah, we'll see. Early on, and too bad Rye Cape's not here, but dominating pitcher so far in spring training, Aaron Nola of the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't think not surprising, but he threw 3 innings of, in the first weekend of baseball, 3 innings for the Phillies. Nobody touched him. He was good for 3 innings, got in, got out, and kept moving. So Aaron Nola looks, like an early guy to keep a watch on. If he can get his stuff going again, that will be good for the Phillies, and certainly good to see for Aaron Nola, who's a very good guy. He looks like the kind of pitcher that's going to be a lifetime Philly, much like Steve Carlton, who started with the Cardinals but made his money with Philadelphia. So we'll see. But Aaron Nola and the Phillies off to a good start in spring ball. So good on him. As I said, good to see Justin Turner get his uniform dirty. His new uniform. It's still blue and white, but it's it's a Toronto blue and white, not Dodger blue and white. But I think the Blue Jays will appreciate the fact that Turner can play like 3 or 4 different positions. So that does help Toronto decide where they want to put him.
Yeah, the only problem with that, Jim, is it seems like every player in the Toronto lineup can play 3 or 4 positions.
Oh, okay. So
it seems like they've been breeding a lot of Swiss
utility
Army
players. Yeah,
yeah, like Kevin Biggio, for example. They used him in almost every position last year, and he wasn't even in the starting lineup. So I don't know what the Blue Jays are doing. Again, pitching is their issue.
Right.
So if they expect to make the playoffs every year, there's supposed to be this playoff team, and they fall short of the wild card. So if they're supposed to be this team that they're supposed to be, I would like to see some pitching, but we'll see.
Well, take the Mariners pitching staff and put it on the Blue Jays, and you got a World Series team.
Yeah, pretty much. The Mariners have some very good pitching.
They can't score to save their life, but they got pitching.
Yeah, that was the problem. And they have a great lineup, so we'll see if maybe the Mariners have some big improvement this year. They definitely have the pitching staff to do so.
Yeah, they seem to be the team year in and year out. And we'll have to get Dave Sims, who's their broadcaster, on Dave's a great guy. They seem year in and year out to be the disappointment of the West. Every year everybody goes, keep an eye on those Mariners, keep an eye on those Mariners, and you do. And they went into the last, 3 weeks of the season with a very good chance of ending up in the playoffs, and they literally just choked it away.
Yeah, you could call them the Blue Jays of the West, and it makes perfect sense because the Blue Jays are the same kind of team in their own division where every year, watch out the Blue Jays. They might win this division and then they fall short of the wild card. But also, the Mariners are Canada's team out west, so a lot of people in Western Canada cheer for the Mariners. So just saying, the Mariners and the Blue Jays are similar in more ways than one.
Justin Verlander, for those of you who are fans of the Houston Astros, seemed to throw a bullpen session the other day, and says his arm feels good. So it's always good to hear from pitchers when they're doing those bullpen sessions that I'm going okay. Thanks for asking. So that's probably the best news that they've had in quite a while. So, it's, by the way, a lot of people keep saying, that Mike Trout is, we'd love to see Mike Trout make the playoffs and good to see him play. And it would be. I mean, Trout's a fun ball player to watch. He actually got his Hollywood type sign out in Desert Hills, out where the, where the Angels practice. So it's like a mock-up of the Hollywood sign, only it's Trout out there. So some people out there are loving his situation. By the way, we still don't know where the Oakland Athletics are going to play beyond this season. They are definitely going to be in Oakland for one more year, but beyond this season, I have no idea. We will hopefully find out. So, there's a lot happening here. Okay, so let's go. But MLB Network has one, and I'm going to toss out these names, and you're going to tell me if you agree or disagree. They're talking about one team in each division that's going to be better than last. Okay. And so here is, let's start with the AL East, the Boston Red Sox. Now, you could say and make an argument, well, what the hell? They couldn't be any worse, right? They think that this team is going to be around 500 again, but a better 500.
Okay.
And Lucas Giolito, by the way, is pitching for them. That's the guy Rye wanted in. I mean, honestly, I don't. That's a tough division, and I didn't think that the Red Sox did anything to help themselves.
Yeah, so that's the first thought that comes to mind, right? You got the Yankees, who are finally spending a ton of money left and right. You got the Tampa Bay Rays, who have, let's be real, they've owned the division the last few years, and now you got the Baltimore Orioles that have come out of nowhere the last two seasons. Yeah. Obviously, they showed huge improvement, but last year they were the team to beat, and still the Blue Jays lurking in there.
Right.
Okay, you could call them a better 500. I don't know what a better 500 really is compared to 500 is 500 to me.
Pretty
Doesn't
much,
matter how you win the 80 whatever games.
It's a fixed number. You're not gonna.
Yeah. So I just
and you forgot the Yankees. You forgot the Yankees. The Yankees.
No, I said they were spending money left and right. Right. So
right.
That's the thing, right? It's like, okay, maybe the Red Sox are a better team overall. I guess I kind of see what they're saying. They could be a better team, but I don't see them leaving the foot of the division.
No, they're going to stay in last place, and I don't see that. Yeah, I think the key. Yeah, I guess if you have to pick, right, a better team in the division, the Red Sox probably are just as good as any, because I don't see that. I don't see the Orioles falling off too much. I don't see Tampa Bay falling off too much. I see the Yankees improving. I just don't. I mean, to me, if I had to say, if it were me picking, I would have to say improved. I would say the Yankees are probably going to be improved.
That's what I would go with, right? Because they were bad last year.
Yeah, they were horrible.
They were a bad team, and it was rare. But
Yeah.
now they're spending a ton of money, and just like the Dodgers, at this point, you have to say with the amount of money the Yankees, that they better be improved, or we have some real problems going on in the front office. But 100%, that would be the pick I make. At this point, the Yankees have to be improved with the money they're spending.
Right. Otherwise, Brian Cashman's going to return to Catholic University in Washington as a professor of baseball studies. He will no longer be the general manager. So, thank God that George Steinbrenner isn't alive to see this, or he would be really upset. All right, let's go to the AL Central. The Royals. Okay. All right. What they like about the Royals is that a lot of really good young players are playing on the team, and they added a pretty hefty group of of guys who've been around the league, and we're talking about Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo, Hunter Renfroe, Adam Frazier, Garrett Hampton. So you got these, young players who are, coming into play, like MJ Menendez and Bobby Witt and those guys. They look to be a much more, are they going to challenge for the championship in that division? If you recall, what was it? The 3 games above 500 got you the division. You don't have to improve that much to be a challenger in this division, unfortunately. But okay, I'll buy the Royals.
Yeah, this is one of those teams where I think can't get any worse, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that might be what they needed, right? They had a really young team last year, and we've talked a lot about with the Padres how having a veteran voice in the clubhouse, goes a long way. So if they're bringing in veterans for this season to help those younger players out, then are the Royals going to be a good team? No, probably not. But are they going to be, are they going to win more than 30 games? I would
hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it should happen. Yeah. So
they're not going out on a limb. Let's just put it this way. The MLB Network's not going out on a limb saying that they're going to be better. And speaking of which, the AL West, now I'm hoping, try to sit down, okay? Because I know you're going to jump out of the chair on this one. The AL West, they say the A's. Now, they lost 106 games last year. 112 games. I'm sorry. That was 112 games last year. Okay. Are they going to be better? They couldn't be any worse. And
again,
those kids,
that's what that is, right?
Right. Those kids and God love them, right? They just didn't have, you mentioned it's a AAA team. Well, the good news is they have a year in the major leagues for these AAA players. So who knows? I mean, they could very well be a better team than they were. Are they going to challenge in the West? That West is a stacked division. It's where the World Series champion Texas Rangers came from. Houston is still going to be good.
Houston's favored to win the American League this year.
Yeah. So we talked about the Mariners, being, the constant disappointment. So that's 3 teams right there. You got to think the Angels are at least going to be a little better than they were. So
I'm wondering if that's the bar that they're rating this on.
I don't know what they
could be like the Angels. To me, Jim.
Yeah.
This is a lazy pick. That's what that is to me. It's one of those where, like, are they wrong for saying the Athletics are going to be more improved? No. How could you get any worse than what you were last year? But, like, is it
they only lose 100 games? If they only lose 100 games, they're 12 games better than last year.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It takes no effort to pick the A's to be slightly better. They were going to win 6 more games than they did last year. Like, to me, that's a lazy pick. I would go with the Mariners, because the Mariners, if anything, had a down season last year and should be an improved team this year. Obviously, we've talked that pitching staff is great and they have the bats. They just didn't perform last year. So my pick would be the Mariners. I mean, as you said, you got the World Series champions. The Rangers can't really get any better. They're kind of the team to beat right now. According to Vegas, though, Houston's the team to beat in that division. So I don't know how, and they're, model of consistency. So how can you get any better if you're Houston?
Well, to your point about Rangers, right? You and I said last week, they're getting 2, Cy Young winning pitchers back.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? They won probably last year in a year where they were too early.
Right. I mean, they're getting their 2 aces back healthy. How are they going to, and the Astros are going to beat them? I don't know about that. Let's move on over to the
A's. The A's are going to be improved because they'll figure out a place to play next year. That's why
exactly.
Improved, right?
They'll be the Sacramento A's.
That's what it boils down to. They'll figure out a home, and that's what makes this team better. They can lose every game, but they'll be better.
Or they go to Salt Lake City and play in the altitude and hit the ball. So maybe that's it. The NL East, the Mets. Okay. The Mets were a disappointment last year. There's no doubt about that. But how about the Phillies? I mean, the Mets are, I'm not saying that the Mets aren't a good choice. I'm just saying, are the Mets going to be better than the Phillies?
I don't think it's a matter of that. I think it's as you said, they had a down year after they had a very good season in Steve Cohen's first year. So it's not
they won 100 games. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it's been a complete failure, right? They had the good season, and then, kind of the omen started when I forget his name. He was their closer. He got injured.
Oh, I know you're talking about,
in the World Baseball Club. It's been a whole year since we've seen him, so kind of has gone out the brain. But so I think that was their problem. I totally agree with their opinion that the Mets are the team to pick here. Do they have to beat the Phillies and the Braves to be better? No, they just have to not have a disappointing season, as you put it. But I'd throw the Marlins. You like the Phillies? I would throw the Marlins hat in the ring for that.
You know what?
I think they were very much improved last year.
I'm going to buy the Marlins with you because they have a lot of young pitching, and
that's
that
what
young
it is,
pitching,
right?
a lot of young pitching. If they can get some hitting, score some runs. They lost a lot of 1-run games last year, and that's been their Achilles heel. Now the Mets, you got to love their lineup with Brandon Emo, Jeff McNeil, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso. Those are all good, hitters, and they've got some good young players. So the Mets are absolutely, a fine team. Now, the MLB Network says the Marlins could take a step backwards from the potential of being a playoff team, and that would benefit the Mets. Well, yeah, I guess it would. Maybe the memo should be to the Marlins saying don't take a step backward. I don't think that. I think the Marlins were much like the Diamondbacks in the West. They showed up a little earlier than people expected them to.
Yeah, and that's what it sounds like here from the perspective of the writer. They're kind of counting the Marlins season last year as it was a fluke. They weren't supposed to be that good. But I'm with you. I think it was more like when we saw the Orioles, 2 years ago have that big improvement, and then last year they won the division. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Marlins come out and beat the Braves this year, right? Because that's the thing with them is they've had a young team, as you said, Now that those young players, have some experience and like you said, with the 1-run games, that happens a lot in sports where look at the Minnesota Vikings 2 years ago. They won the most 1-score games in the league. Last year, they got torched in 1-score games. So, the Marlins lost so many games by 1 run last year, that might flip the opposite way for them this year. And if that happens, all of a sudden they're thrust themselves into a wild card spot.
Well, if you flipped 10, okay, they lost, I think it was 20 something like that. Take half of them, okay? You take half of them, they'd make the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So it's not that hard to believe that if they can get some timely, hitting to go with the timely pitching, then, this is something that people can keep an eye on. Look, this next one, the NL Central, I thought last year it was going to happen, but it didn't. And that's the Reds. I thought the Reds, because they had a really good first half, I thought the Reds were like, okay, here we go. It's going to be fun. It's a fun team to watch. And then they just kind of wilted going down the stretch. This is a division, and we've already talked about it, that there really isn't a true favorite in this division. Milwaukee's got issues. The Cubs have got issues. The Reds have got issues. The Pirates have issues. It's not going to be an easy slog. It's going to be a lot of, can the Reds win this division and can they improve? To me, the Reds have to play consistently. They played a good first half and they failed. They kind of wilted as the heat of August came about, and by the time September was there, they were gone. So I don't know. I think they've got a lot of good players, young players, but and again, young pitching too. So I don't know. They're kind of a little. I don't want to call them as good as the Marlins because they're not, but they've got much of the same Marlin-esque issues.
The Reds to me are more like the Blue Jays. A lot of their games they were winning last year, they were scoring 10, 11 runs.
True.
It was unbelievable. They had no pitching though, and that's what really hurt them down the stretch. Their bullpen was awful. A lot of their starters had ERAs, 5.0 or higher. So they weren't a good pitching team. They have the potential to fix that this year. It's funny though, because when we did the power rankings, when we went over them last week, it had the Cardinals in like 22nd of the power rankings.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are the Vegas favorite to win the Central, but as you said, they're not a favorite. They're plus 135. But then it's the Cubs at plus 210. If anything, I think that's value on the Cubs at plus 210. They're probably the best.
They got Cody Bellinger back.
Division. Yeah. See, that's the thing, right? Like they're probably the most consistent team in the division. Are they good? No. Are any of these teams in the division good? No. And someone has to win it. So I'd probably take the more consistent team, which I think the Cubs tend to be.
Okay, out west. Okay, it's going to be hard for me to say this with a straight face. The Padres.
Don't say the Padres.
I had to say it because that's what's written right in front of my face.
How are the Padres going to be better?
Okay, you lose Juan Soto, you lose Blake Snell, and you get better.
Addition by subtraction,
I guess. This is a division with the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks. You can't. I mean, I don't see the Diamondbacks falling off. If they fall off, it's not going to be that much. People keep, undervaluing the Giants. I don't know. I don't get that. Okay, look, the Padres lost 80 games last year. Okay. I don't understand how they lost 80 games. I mean, with the lineup they had, how do you lose 80 games? I don't know. So if you're saying that they're going to be better than they were last year, okay, it's kind of like what was we talked about the Red Sox, right? This is kind of a Red Sox thing. The Padres have spent, a lot of money on that team, and they've got. I'll give them this: they got a pretty good bullpen, but you got to get to the bullpen to, to win your games. And I don't know. I mean, are they going to be better than losing 80 games? Are they going to be a 500 team? Sure, I'll bite that, but I just that the improvement stat for me, and it's going to sound nuts, but I would have said the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've improved. The bar was so high already. I mean, this division's not really much of a competition. The Dodgers are the minus 550 favorite,
Right.
and after that Ohtani home run, I don't know. I don't know how they're losing this division this year. The Padres should be weaker, if anything, and the Diamondbacks, they would be the team I would pick to have improved, because we both agreed.
Who's second in the division?
The Diamondbacks are plus 800.
Oh, okay. All right. So
it's not close. It's plus 800, but they're number 2.
And we talk about the Cubs. Bellinger and the Cubs are looking at a 3-year deal. They're going to extend it, and I think that makes a lot of sense for them. It's just interesting. The Orioles, because they feel they certainly do need pitching. Julio Teheran and Creighton Wong have joined the Orioles on minor league contracts now. I don't know. I don't know how much Julio Teheran has left in the arm, and Wong. I mean, I guess the Orioles are just signing players to minor league deals and praying that something happens, because they do have their pitching they do have some pitching issues here.
Yeah, that more so might be because of the what happened to Bradish. That was obviously unexpected injury when you pick it up before the season even starts, and that kind of throws you off for the year. If it had happened, at the end of the season last year, they would have known we're going to be out a guy for a year. Let's go get somebody. But this kind of threw him for a loop. So I think that's what that is, right? They don't want Snell, and it's let's just grab something and see if it sticks.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be an interesting situation. We're going to do one real other quick thing here, and that's your opening day, probable opening day starters. So let's take a quick look at that. The Brewers and the Mets. This is an opening day starter. Freddie Peralta, likely to be your man that gets the ball for the Brew Crew. I don't think anybody's going out on the, on the limb and saying, "Wow, what a major, a major announcement that's being." I don't think that's going to be, a surprise to anybody on that one. The Twins and the Royals, Pablo Lopez from Minnesota. Oh wait, let me look at this. What are they doing here? 24. It's going to be beginning Korea, face off the Seoul Series, March 2021. Every starting pitcher for each team, game 1 of the 2024 season. Okay, so Freddie Peralta, we already said that was going to be your. Okay, the Twins are going to go with Pablo Lopez. Dylan Crease is going to get the ball for the Chicago White Sox. They're playing the Tigers. Detroit Lenny's going to see Detroit, please. Mitch Keller gets the ball for Pittsburgh. And here's an interesting stat. Mitch Keller will be the first Pittsburgh Pirate pitcher to start consecutive opening days since Francisco Lorano did it back in, from 2014 through 2016. So stability in the Pirates. How about that? Jesus Larraz.
You want to call it stability.
All right. Jesus Loser. Why am I screw his name up every time? Luzarando is going to be the pitcher. Sandy Alcantara would be, but he's recovering from Tommy John surgery. So Jesus is going to get the ball. Cardinals, Dodgers. Sonny Gray gets the ball for St. Louis on his fourth team he's been pitching on. So he'll get
which is crazy because he's had such a low ERA. I don't know why Minnesota didn't want to keep him in such a wide open division.
Yeah. And the not yet announced Dodgers, Padres, Angels, Orioles, Braves, Phillies, Nationals, Reds, Giants, Padres, Blue Jays, Rays, Yankees, Astros. How do you not start Garrett Cole? Just saying. All right. I'm going to guess he's probably going to be the guy. But that's, there's a lot of guys here that, the Cubs and the Rangers, you got to think, Jacob deGrom, if he's healthy, he's healthy now. So I'm thinking Jacob deGrom is your starting pitcher with the Rangers against the Cubs. Guardians and A's. Shane Bieber maybe for Cleveland. Rockies and D-backs. Zach Gallen, who pitched pretty well for Arizona last year, be my guess, and Corey Kluber. Corey Kluber for the Red Sox. We'll see, but those are some of the guys to be looking forward to in this upcoming season that should be here. Not too distant. We're closing in on it. So before we leave here, my friend, let's talk about what people are going to find on the docket for you here today in the in the show box below.
Yeah, make sure you check out my premium picks at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. The links are in the description below. Already off to a 1-0 start today. I had an over in a soccer game earlier that was 6-1 for Napoli. So big way to start the day. I don't have any more soccer plays that you can grab for the rest of the day, but I do have 5 college basketball and 1 NBA pick, including my college basketball, Conference USA Game of the Year. So make sure you go check that out.
There you go. Plenty of good stuff. All right, we opened on Ohtani's home run. I'm not certainly not the first one we're going to see, or the last one we're going to see this year. But he went oppo for us and showed us a little bit of that power stroke. And it's kind of funny. His swing is very compact, which is Bryce Harper's got a very compact swing. And, those guys with those compact and power swings are usually the guys that can hit the ball to the opposite field because most of it's most of it's strength. And Lord knows that Mr. Ohtani's got strength. He's also a bigger guy than I think most people think he is. You see him standing right there to Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman's 6'4", 6'5". So he's a good sized guy. So we'll see. All right, everybody. Hope that you enjoyed our chat about baseball. Tomorrow is Thursday, and tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about some college basketball as we get closer and closer to March Madness. Some of these games are going to really take on some incredibly important, we're getting to the weekend and beyond, and there's some really games that are going to really decide where things are headed in college basketball. So we'll talk about college basketball tomorrow. And until then, we'll see everybody. Take care.